Hello and welcome all to the full council meeting of the 29th of April 2024. Before we begin, may I advise of a few housekeeping issues. I would like to remind members that under the council's multi-location meetings policy, this meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the council's website as soon as possible after the meeting. Can I also ask members that mics and cameras are switched off until you are invited to speak. For remote attendees, should you wish to speak, would you please indicate by using the raised hand function. When subsequently invited to address myself, please then press your activation button in the bottom centre of your screen. Your microphone and camera should come on at this point so that you can be seen and heard when actively participating. If this is not possible for any reason, please bring this to the attention of myself and/or the Democratic Services Officer as soon as possible. For members present in the chamber who wish to speak, please raise your hand physically, and when invited by myself to speak, press your microphone button once. It will turn red and there will be a very short delay whilst the chamber camera moves into position. Once you have participated, please remember to turn your activation button off as not to delay other participants from coming onto the screen and to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. The chat function may be used to highlight any technical issues and/or grab the attention of myself or the Democratic Services Officer. With regard to voting on recommendations, if there is no dissent to a recommendation, I will accept the silence as agreement. If an electronic vote is called during the course of the meeting, then advice on how to participate will be given accordingly to committee members with voting rights at that time. Should the Welsh language be spoken during the meeting, a simultaneous translation will be available to listen to. For meeting participants in the council chamber, a translation receiver and headset are available at each seat for you to use at the appropriate time. For remote meeting participants, language selection is available under the audio settings tab on the left-hand side of your screen for the use at the appropriate time. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any, please? Councillor Carroll, please.
Councillor Robert Fisher.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? At home? No? Thank you. Agenda item 2. Ask the Chief Executive to take the roll call of members and declarations of interest and the nature of those interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Start with Councillor Anne Asprey, please.
Presennol, I didn't beat you that guy.
Present and nothing to declare.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gareth Ball.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhiannon Birch.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gillian Bruce.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Buckley.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Liz Burnett.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Samantha Campbell.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor George Carroll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Christine Cave.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Charles Champion.
Present. Present, nothing to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Janice Charles.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Millie Collins.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Marianne Cowp.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Pamela Drake.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Vince Driscoll. Okay, Councillor Anthony Ernest.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Chris Franks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Wendy Gilligan.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Russell Godfrey. Councillor Emma Goodjohn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ewan Goodjohn.
Presennol a Jimmy Ugagan.
Councillor Stephen Haynes.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Howard Hamilton.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Sally Hanks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor William Hennessy.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Hooper.
Bresennol a dim byd o ddatgan.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Gwyn John.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
Presennol a dim byd o ddatgan.
Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Belinda Lovelock Edwards.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Julie Lynch Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Kevin Marney.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Naomi Marshalsea.
Presennol a ddim byd i ddatgan.
Councillor Michael Morgan.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Jane Norman.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Helen Payne.
Presennol, and I'd like to item 10A relating to the budget, as I'm employed by Llamau. It's personal, not prejudicial, so there's no need to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Elliot Penn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Sandra Perks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Perry.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Joanna Prythrow.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ruba Sivinianum.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Caris Stallard. Councillor Neil Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhys Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Steffan William. Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Eddie Williams.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nicholas Wood.
Present and nothing to declare.
Thank you. And I'll just check one more time. Councillor Vince Driscoll. Can you hear me, Councillor Driscoll?
Sorry, present and nothing to declare.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Steffan William.
Bresennol a dim byd o ddatgan.
Thank you. Diolch. That concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Agenda item 3 is to approve the minutes for accuracy purposes. Do we have anybody wanting to speak on the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Well, I'd like to move the minutes, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to make a correction to the minutes.
That's fine, Councillor.
Which is at the end of page 22, start of page 23, where I'm being quoted. It says the spending per head in London, Scotland and Northern Ireland was 500 times higher than in Wales. I think that should be £500 higher in Wales rather than 500 times greater spend per head in London, Scotland, Northern Ireland, although sometimes it does feel like that. So if that could be corrected, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure that will be corrected for you, Councillor Johnson. Would you like to move the minutes?
I think the leader's already moved, so can I second the minutes, Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'll agree to the change. Thank you. Agenda item 4, it's announcements. I believe I'm the only person here who has announcements. In March, I have again undertaken many engagements which have included the unveiling of the Barry RFC mural, meeting up with the youth service, Group Hive guys and Hurt So Good and learning about their work. Again, I met up with the Vale visually impaired group for the third time, and also enjoyed a music night with the Mayor of Barry to raise money for his chosen charities. I had a great opportunity to take part in the Dow Corning Science Week with the school children from Oakfield Primary School, and had great pleasure in attending the new High Sheriff of South Glamorgan's declaration in Land of Cardiff. More recently, I was invited to a friends and neighbours Easter party where Councillor Johnson, I think, won second place with his Easter bonnet. Third. It was spectacular. It was spectacular. But I think Councillor Millie Collins actually made it for him, so he cheated a little bit, sorry. And of course, had my civic service of thanks in April, which was enjoyed by many. I was also involved in the Thai Housing Conference and the celebration of Social Care Awards, which I was honoured to be part of. Oh, yeah, sorry, that is the end of my announcements. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is questions from the public. We have 3.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor John. Can I just introduce the questions? Sorry, can I just introduce the question, please? I'll introduce that. Question 1 from Mr. J. Giles concerning the Colcord Sports Centre to the Cabinet Member for Leisure, Sport and Wellbeing. So that'll be Councillor Gwyn John.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Giles, for your question. I dispute your claim that there has not been any engagement to the proposals relating to the Colcord Sports Centre and the proposals relating to the Buttrolls Recreation Ground. The Council recently held an extremely well-attended drop-in event at the Colcord to share the proposals for both sites. In addition, I can also confirm that discussions have been held with those organisations directly affected by the proposals. To suggest there has been no engagement or consultation is therefore simply not true. I can also say that what have been published are proposals. No decisions are being made, and if the scheme is developed further, the public will continue to be kept fully apprised. I can advise the current consultation ends on 31st of May, and I hope that answers the question and dispels the myth that there have been no engagement when there clearly has been. Thank you.
The microphone would help. Thank you. We're waiting for Mrs. S. Evans to make her way into the chamber, because as she would like to ask a question, Council, in the chamber. This question is from Mrs. S. Evans regarding the NAP Lifeguard building at Watchtower Bay to the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places, which is Councillor Bronwyn Brooks. Could you ask your question, Mrs. Evans, please?
Hello. Despite the Vale's difficult financial situation, the local authority and Barry Town Council have very exciting plans for the future of the people of the Vale, and they involve community engagement, environmental sustainability, the development of education and heritage projects. My name is Sally Evans, and as a resident of Barry, I'm here to represent a local community campaign group that has a very bold vision for the very dilapidated Cold Nap Old Lifeguards building in Barry, and our vision meets all of your council goals. I have recently written to all councillors sharing the vision that we have for this building. Our question tonight relates to this building. As it is not likely to be a priority development for the Vale, would the council executive and members be prepared to meet with us and work with us on our community campaign project group to move this project forward in partnership and consider a community asset transfer? If you are not prepared to meet with us, then what plans do the council have themselves for this building, bearing in mind it has been deteriorating for many years? Our community campaign group have spent the last 18 months sharing our vision for the building with senior executives of the council, including Liz Burnett. But there has been no progress made. Whilst we recognise the council have many priorities, we're an active, passionate community group keen to see this building protected and developed into a coastal and environmental exploration centre that will be accessible for all generations and support pupil education and learning. We have strong plans, and they align completely with the Vale Delivery Plan and the Public Services Board Wellbeing Plan, and we believe this council would be proud to be associated with these forward-thinking vision and plans which protect the future wellbeing of our coastal community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs Evans. Councillor Brooks, would you like to reply, please?
Okay. Thank you for your questions, Mrs Evans. We very much recognise the history and unique location of this building, but we currently have no plans to bring it back into use ourselves, since it was unfortunately declared unsafe by our structural engineers, and this was due to the water ingress affecting the concrete substructure, and this was several years ago. With all our other many capital funding commitments for critical areas like housing, schools and highways, we simply do not have the funds to repair the building currently. In recognition of this, our officers have had discussions with several local water sports groups who have registered an interest in using the building. However, these discussions, while they're ongoing, have not yet identified any firm commitments that would fund the necessary repairs required. I welcome your interest and I'm very happy to consider any options that could assist in bringing this important building back into suitable use. In this regard, I would suggest that you visit the Council's website and submit an expressions of interest application, and that would be via our community asset transfer page. This page can be accessed by typing either community asset transfer, or if you just put CAT into the web page search bar. And we look forward to receiving your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks, and thank you, Miss Evans. Question number 3 from Mrs C. Cook regarding personal information on surveys to the Executive Leader and Cabinet Member for Performance and Resources. Councillor Liz Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mrs. Cook. The questions that accompany any survey, whether single issue, such as the draft tree strategy, or the more recent, much more comprehensive Life in the Vale survey, are anonymised and no one is identifiable. They are then used to check if the survey responses reflect the demographic makeup of the Vale of Glamorgan and its communities. For example, they might help us to understand whether the majority of responses are from a particular geographic area or age group or other feature. Perhaps more importantly, in the larger surveys, it helps us to understand differences of opinion and lived experience of all residents. Only yesterday, I explored our data on transport choices in different areas of the Vale in preparation for a meeting with Transport for Wales. It makes our arguments much more effective. Continuing to collect and analyse such data will help inform our priorities when we're setting our budget and help us to provide the services that people need. Thank you for taking the time to complete the tree strategy survey and for allowing me to explain why we collect the data. If you'd like to know more, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett. Thank you, Leader. And thank you, Mrs. C. Cook. Agenda item 6 is the report, the Vale of Glamorgan Community Review. This is for supporting and noting. Can I ask the Leader to present, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. As members would be aware, this has got a long history. It came to Cabinet back in the 17th of November 2022, where the process to be adopted was set out. In Cabinet on the 30th of March 2023, there was a reference from the Community Liaison Committee, which was discussed on 23rd of March, just slightly earlier. The Local Democracy and Boundary Commission published their draft proposals on the 5th of September, and then there was a consultation period. The Commission notified all mandatory consultees, and there was a period in which people could make a submission, and they published their draft proposals on the 5th of September. The Commission encouraged the Vale of Glamorgan Cross-Party Working Group to submit further representations as part of the consultation by the 30th of October last year, and the matter was also reported to the Community Liaison Committee and Cabinet as a result. And the copy of the reference reports can be found at the link included in the executive summary. So the reason that this has come here today is for approval and noting by Council, but it should be noted that this report now has already been submitted to Welsh Government ministers, so that any further submissions should be now made direct to the minister. It will come back to community liaison, but again, so that it will be circulated to all town and community councils, and again, so that they can submit their comments in response to the review. So for us today, there are 3 recommendations, and it's recommended that full council considers, notes and supports the content of this report and the recommendations of the Local Democracy and Boundary Commission for Wales. Secondly, it's recommended that a copy of this report be circulated to all clerks of all town and community councils for information, and to enable town and community councils to submit any additional comments in response to the review. And finally, it's recommended that all councillors consider the report, and should they consider it appropriate, forward any comments directly to the Welsh Government Minister in response to the review. And I'd move.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
And I'll second those recommendations, Mayor.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The proposals contained within the Vale of Glamorgan Community Review will break up many established communities. There are too many examples to list them all, but the flaws are well demonstrated by the proposed community of Landau, Llanfair and Llanmace, which completely fails to take local ties into account. In many cases throughout this consultation, residents' concerns were ignored. 130 residents signed a petition following the draft proposals which transferred St Livens and Dyffryn from Wenvo to St Nicholas and Llancarvan. This petition should have informed the final proposals, but it didn't. The community of Tros, the village of Tros I should say, appears to have been forgotten from the report and not taken into account at all. And across the board, the Commission proposes slashing the number of community councillors. Now let's be clear, these are not full-time paid politicians. They're altruistic, community-minded people who give up their time for free to serve their local areas. At the same time, Labour and Plaid are creating 36 more politicians in the Senedd at a cost of £120 million. This isn't just ironic, it's frankly scandalous. Now, as the leader said, the report before us this evening doesn't just note the review, it also expresses support. I cannot, in good conscience, vote for something that is both flawed and endorses the destruction of so many Vale communities, so I'll be voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Marnie, please. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping the gun there. Councillor Cave.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to second what's been said. I also cannot give my support for this review for many of the reasons that have just been outlined by Councillor Carroll. I have to say, I believe that what's happening here is we're throwing very dedicated community councillors onto the community council's scrap heap. And lots of those community councillors have given dedicated decades of service to their local communities. And I think with the Vale of Glamorgan Council calling for more councillors, county borough councillors, and the Welsh Assembly calling for more more AMs, then I think it's absolutely scandalous that what we're saying is we want more democracy at the top and less democracy at the bottom. This will only dilute the voice of local people. If you take 2 community councils in my ward, Llangarn and Colwinston, what is being proposed in this review is that they should merge. Currently, Llangarn has 3 community councillors, and Tros has 3, and St Mary Hill has 2. And what is being proposed is that together they will have 4. At the moment, Colwinston has 7 community councillors, and what is being proposed is that they amalgamate with Clangarn and they have 3 councillors. That means, in effect, that Clangarn will always be able to outvote Colwinston. That doesn't seem fair at all. What also doesn't seem fair, which I did point out at the meeting in March, at the Community Liaison Committee meeting, is that we now see the loss of several clerks in the ward. Who is going to pay for their redundancy? Who is going to support those clerks to find new work? So I think this report is very flawed for lots of different reasons, and I certainly cannot give it my support.
Thank you, Councillor Cave. Next, we have Councillor Marnie. Please, sorry to keep you waiting.
Thank you. I have commented on before on the ludicrous nature of this commission and its report, and my criticism, which will be ongoing, of the Boundaries Commission. We've created a new ward of Cosmoston, despite 55 objections out of only 400 houses and only 3 in favour. As I pointed out previously, we've created a situation now where the good people of Cosmoston will be paying highly enhanced town council precepts to Penarth Town Council, almost double in some cases. It's absolutely ludicrous. And with the creation of a ward on county council level, as I pointed out before, they'll be paying more money in precept, but yet having less representation by the amount of county councillors actually going on. Again, I've already pointed out that there's a disgraceful nature, and we've just touched on consultation here earlier, that not one household in that Cosmoston ward was notified that there was a consultation going on about their house until I found out, and I contacted all the residents there. It's an absolute outrage. And if I read into the Boundaries Commission report, it actually says that the major concern here from the objectors was that their precept would go up. There is no evidence that will go up. It says in the report. I mean, who on earth is working for the Boundaries Commission? It's a complete and utter farce. And yet another, I would say, sham consultation by the Vale of Glamorgan. But of course, they didn't tell anybody they were actually holding one, yet again. It's an absolute disgrace to democracy. This council, yet again, is a total and utter joke. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Next, Councillor Franks, please.
Thank you. We've heard a little bit about democracy tonight, which is interesting, which is good. But we haven't heard anything about the vast number of additional unelected lords. I wonder, is anyone in the chamber able to remind us how many newly created lords at £305 a night have been created since 2019?
Councillor Marnie. Sorry. You can have a private discussion after this. Councillor Wilson's next.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I mean, I think we've got some issues here, haven't we? But clearly, we've got to think about viability of these councils. Some of these councils don't have elections for year in, year out, for periods of time. It would be good for democracy if they did. And I also feel that many of these councils will work closer together. And, you know, and then one member said, oh, that we'd be outvoted by another community. I'm sorry, I represent a community. I don't ever feel I've been outvoted by members from Cornerswell or St Augustine's or Plymouth on Penarth Town Council. I'm sorry, we don't think that way. And I think it's important that we get away from that strange nature. I think we all got to be working together. And I think by having these councils, we create more synergies. We will be better off providing these services. Some of these services could provide a much more local level. And really, I mean, an awful lot of communities nearby do look for the principal councils to help them out, in many cases, as you and I know, but we are facing financial trouble. We know that, let's put it this way, the country is broke. We got debt of almost 100%. of our entire national income. We're under real pressure. We've got to make things work, and that includes town and community council level as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I think I've got a dodgy mic here. I have to keep pressing it 3 times. So, thank you. Next is Councillor Godfrey, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I strongly cannot support this proposal for the following reasons. At the last election, the Wenville ward lost both Bonvilson and St Nicholas areas. So now the proposal is that we lose Dyffryn and St Lithans. Now, for those who are familiar with the geographics of the area, Twynyrodin, St Lithans and Dyffryn are all on one road. Now the proposal is that Twynyrodin will now become part of Wenville and a new ward will be created called Brooklands, which will encapsulate the ex-HTV site and the Brooklands Terrace area, which includes the Cambrian Residential Park and the Park of Gwenville site. Now, I personally went out and canvassed a petition amongst the residents of St Lithans and Dyffryn, and not one resident living in that area wanted to move out to the Wenville ward, where they've historically been for many years. It's a totally nonsensical move. It's not going to be more cost effective. It's not going to make things more efficient. The people have been part of Wenville. They're all linking together. As I say, it's one straight road. And quite frankly, I'm just totally and utterly baffled and extremely disappointed that there was no mention or reference made to the petition that was submitted both to the council and has been submitted to the Boundary Commission. And I have put my protest in there as well. And this is just a totally nonsensical move. And as such, I can't support this motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Godfrey. Councillor Ian Perry, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me? No? Hello? Has it died? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Right, can you see me?
No.
Yeah, do you want me to log out and come back in because my screen's frozen? You can't see me. I can come back in if you like. You give me 2 seconds.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Councillor Perry. We'll come back. Councillor Haynes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple of points to make on this. It's sad it's come to this council after it's been sent on, but it is what it is. I feel sections of the rural Vale are being bundled together like Market Stall's special. For the life of me, I can't see how this is planning for future generations. And as such, I can't see how that fits with the 5 ways of the much lauded 5 ways of working. Also, seems to be a move by the Welsh Government to increase the number of politicians in the Senate. Yet in this review, it seems the plan is to remove politicians. Of course, these ones are doing it for very little or no money, so they don't count, do they? I've also heard the argument, and it was reiterated again today, that it's hard to fill town and community council places as a justification for these actions. It's the old adage, isn't it? If they're not using it, we'll take it away. I don't think this should apply to democracy. I think democracy is a little bit more important than that, and it sets a dangerous precedent. I won't be voting for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Councillor Johnson, please.
Yeah.
Diolch yn fawr, Mair.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Kevin next to me isn't too concerned, so I won't worry too much about him. Thank you very much. This is an interesting conversation. We need to take into consideration the background of the plan before us. Over 18 months ago, a cross-party group was established to discuss how we will set about the Local Democracy Commission to consider how we will look at Vale of Glamorgan. Membership of the Tories. Councillor Carroll was in these meetings across the last 18 months. So why is he coming to this council to protest? Councillor Carroll wasn't in the community liaison meeting when we were discussing this last October. Why? I was there. I contributed to the conversation, as did a number of others. Why are other Tories coming here now, at the end of the process, in order to complain and not to take part in the cross-party group discussing the topic over a number of meetings here, including independent councillors like Councillor Campbell and Councillor Perry, included members of the Labour Party, such as Councillor Ewan Goodjohn and Councillor Lynch-Wilson. I was there. I think Councillor John was there too. Why didn't the Tories take part in this? That's the question. Now, before that, there were 26 community councils in the Vale of Glamorgan Council in the last election. There were elections in 6 of them, in Barry, Llandud Major, Penarth, Dinas Powys, and partially in Scilly and in Llanfair. There were no elections in 20 of the community councils. If you want to get to know all of them, they're on the piece of work behind the Chief Exec and Mayor there, created by Councillor Shirley Hodges, sitting behind us in the back. How do we expect local democracy to work without elections? If people can raise taxes, and you cannot ignore this, it's not possible. These processes help to create bodies which are accountable to the public. Councillor Perry, in his contribution to the Commission, stated or mentioned about the number of people who didn't stand in election but were weighted for a co-option later. People can't choose who represent them. This is important in places like Barry or Penarth. Cities and large towns attract more people. And then there's more choice, more political choice for local residents. This isn't the case in a number of the towns and other villages across the county. I don't agree with every single part of this report, but this does respond to the challenge that we have at hand, which is the fact that a number of councils have a number of people without election time after time after time after time. And a number of people have stated that this goes against democracy by combining these. Well, it's against democracy not to have elections for people to represent the public. So Plaid Cymru will support the report here tonight. As I say, I don't support every part, but it is a report from independent people outside of the council and our politics. To some extent, I agree with some of the principles set out. Some others don't agree so much with. Personally, as a local councillor, my ward is losing a number of representatives, and I will be sad to lose them. But this is something which has been done for us by people from the outside. We've had an opportunity to set our aim and objectives in the first instance. The Commission has responded to that, and we've gone through consultation. Not all of us will agree with this, but this is the report. And if there's no genuine basis to dispute this, we do need to accept it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Anthony Ernest, next, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've listened with great interest to the contributions that have been made so far. I'm talking specifically tonight about the link, if you like, between the Plymouth ward of Penarth and the proposed Cosmerston ward. Now, we know that Cosmerston as a community is a housing estate, because that's what it is. There's only around 400 houses with a very low number of electors, because there are quite a number of children living on the estate as well. And yet they're going to end up with a single county councillor, which puts the councillor to the electorate proportion completely out of sync with most of the other wards and councillors across the Vale. It'll be one councillor for, I'm talking 400, 500, something like that. In my ward in Plymouth, together with my colleague Councillor Rees, we represent around 5,500 people, and we've just got 2 councillors. So we're looking at 2627 for the elected member. We were shortchanged at the last boundary review. I'm not sure this helps us particularly now, because in addition to that, Lavernock has been recognised in recent years as Sully and Lavernock, and I was one of those who in the very early days suggested that Lavernock should be incorporated in the title and name of the scheme community council. And in fact, in an earlier life, I actually sat on Sully Council as well, so I know a little bit about it and its workings. I think the major thing that's disappointment to me on a personal level is that Cosmerston Country Park will be taken away from Penarth Plymouth and put into the proposed Cosmerston ward. Cosmerston Lakes Park abuts several parts of Penarth, Stanwell, Cornswell ward, and certainly Plymouth ward. And most of the people who approach the park come from the Plymouth ward side, from down Lavernock Road in everyday language, if you like it. And I think it's a great shame the park's been taken away. There are no electors in the park. There are precisely 0. And it would have been much simpler if the park had been left within the Plymouth ward, which it's been a part of for many years. And so in company with my erstwhile colleagues, Madam Mayor, I will not be supporting the motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ernest. Councillor Perry next, please.
Hi, can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great, good news. Right. Point of information here. St Nicholas with Bomston Community Council would be celebrating liberation from Wenvo, but we were never liberated, because this is really about communities. St Nicholas with Bomston Community Council was created in 1982 as an amalgamation of St Nicholas Community Council and Bomston Community Council, which were created in 1894. So Wenvo's never lost us, and we've never been liberated from Wenvo up here on the hill. I've been contacted by residents in St Albans and in Durham who are aware of the changes and are quite happy with this. So it doesn't necessarily reflect their true viewpoint. Dufferin, for example, has historically been linked with St Nicholas, and that will be moving, according to in the proposal, to St Nicholas. The Corey family, who own Dufferin Gardens, have their family tomb at St Nicholas. Their relatives are on the War Memorial at St Nicholas, and the gardener's cottage of the Dufferin House is at St Nicholas. So there are strong historical links running up and down Dufferin Lane, so which is also a straight road. Going back to the loss of members, yes, I share the concerns of people with the loss of members, because as important as elections may be, diversity of membership on town and community councils is also important. And yes, we are short of members. We are struggling to get people involved locally, but perhaps that's a problem we should be addressing rather than getting rid of members. St Nicholas Bomston Community Council will gain a member, it won't lose any, which I guess the community council is quite happy with. Whereas Langcarvan Community Council will lose 3 members. Again, perhaps they don't have elections, but they've got diversity and they've got manpower. It means they can actually go out and do things. So there are concerns within Langcarvan that should be noted, because if you've got fewer people elected, then you've got fewer people attending meetings, and you've got fewer people to share the workload of small community councils. In my ward, it's not perfect. The boundary review has corrected a few problems. Most people will know the Treharn Arms on Tumble Hill as you come up from Culverhouse Cross. Under the proposals, that will be part of the Peterston ward, or it will be St George's Community Ward, but part of Peterston Super Ely and St George's Community Council. It is literally in St Nicholas, or the Downs will become part of St Nicholas. So should that. So there are errors there. There's about a dozen properties that will remain in St George's Community Council or Community Ward, which should be in the St Nicholas Community Ward, because we are rather cut off. So to go and vote, residents of the Drahan Arms and certain other properties in St Nicholas will have to travel to St Bride's, probably via Cardiff. So it's not perfect, but larger community councils will become more efficient. I think as a sector, town and community councils need to grow. They need those efficiencies and economies of scale. In Bonwilson and St Nicholas, we do have a bit of a mismatch, because at the moment St Nicholas is larger than Bonwilson. It has historically been the other way around, but historically St Nicholas had 6 members and Bonwilson had 4 members. Although in recent times, because of a new influx of young people into St Nicholas, there's been a very, very heavy weighting of St Nicholas residents as opposed to Bonwilson residents. So there is also a shortage of clerks nationally that needs to be considered. Yes, there will be changes, but often there are changes as we go along, and change sometimes is necessary. So we need to be careful with the loss of clerks, but do remember that since 2020 in home working, the shortage of clerks in the UK nationally has worsened. And if you look at online for clerk vacancies, you'll find quite a lot. And I think that covers what I want to say. So I can sort of say I will support this, but with a caveat that I'm not happy with some of the minor details in there, as I've just suggested and outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Councillor Morgan, did you want to come in? Did you have your hand up?
Oh, yes, please. Can you hear me, see me?
Yeah, have you got your hand? You should have had your hand up.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry. Right, there we are. Does that work?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
No, just to come in on a couple of points, because in my ward, there are 2 community councils that will be amalgamated. We have St Donat's and Pendoilen, and then Peterston Super Ely and St George's. There's a certain logic in Peterston Super Ely going with St George's, although we seem to lose the definition of St Bride's, which is one of the more ancient communities. But some of the comments that have been made about the lack of elections, I don't see why that is so crucial in our communities, because certainly in the last elections, we didn't have elections in any of our wards, but we ended up with some excellent councillors because they volunteer, they come forward and they are co-opted. I attend all of the community councils every month in each of these communities, and they're all hard-working volunteers. And to echo what Councillor Cave said, we're also going to lose some excellent clerks who've served the communities for very many years. What does concern me about the way this has been done is it seems to have been done more on population figures than geography. And, the Pendoilen and St Donat's area are quite large areas, and you're not going to get people to travel back and forth between the communities. And I think this is going to end up with a lack of representation. But to echo what Councillor Johnson said, we're rather stuck with this because it's been recommended to us and approved by us. And but it doesn't work for everybody. The rural wards are different. The rural communities are different. They are bigger areas. They got more spread populations. So it's not a question of roads. It's a question of distance. So those are my comments. I'm still ruminating as to how I'm going to go on this tonight, because I'm concerned about my particular communities. But in the greater good of the Vale of Glamorgan, perhaps it's a good thing. But those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Nick Hodges, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Perhaps it's time for a history lesson. When Barry Urban District Council was formed in 1894, it included the new growing town of Barry and also some outlying areas like Penmark. That's changed. Things change. I was delighted to hear the comment about my good lady wife, who's sitting in the audience tonight, who created the very symbol of our council there. It actually has on there all the town and community councils that we presently have within the Vale. Now, that was created for the 2012 National Eisteddfod that was held within the Vale of Glamorgan. And it was held within the community council area of Llandow. And I remember in the meeting of the community liaison meeting in 2011, the year before, a representative from the National Eisteddfod came along to explain to people what the Eisteddfod was, how it worked, asking for help, asking for contributions, asking for involvement, and a lot of suggestions and comments were made, of which were quite helpful. I do remember that a multi-million pound organisation bringing their event to Little Llandau was actually greeted by a member of Llandau Council who said, "We can't afford to give anything. We bought a grit bin last year and we don't know how we're going to pay for it." Now, to me, if you haven't got a budget and you can't actually do very, very much within your community, and that is an issue. The rules have come out now that to be considered to be a significant council with various rights and privileges, that you should firstly have elections. And we've heard from Councillor Ian Johnson just how few of our of our community councils don't have elections, election after election. They also have to have a certain amount of budgetable money, and many of these are woefully short of that, simply because their populations are so small. And to actually get up to that level, which I think is 80,000, you would need to tax them to the hilt. And I don't think anyone wants that. Now, when it comes round to democracy, I have to say that I'm a proudly elected member of this chamber, but also of Barry Town Council, and I've had to fight and win 7 elections. I come across community councillors who have never fought an election in their lives. How is that democratic? How is that reasonable? How is that sensible? I've got a population in my ward 8 times the population of Llangan, for example. You've got a population of Llangan of about 700, but that's men, women and non-voting children. Is that sustainable when you've got to find so many councillors from just a few houses, apparently? Now, I don't agree with everything that's been done. My own ward is being gutted to create a new waterfront ward. However, I like to think that whilst I had some participation in the decision-making, I felt it prudent to largely stay out of it, because I don't want to be seen to be creating gerrymandering or anything like that. The very independence of the Commission, I think, is to be not only agreed but applauded. So I will be supporting it tonight because we need to move on, and we need to move on with all the communities, hopefully bigger, more robust and more democratic in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hodges. Councillor Carroll, was it a point of order you wanted to come back with? And what was the point of order?
Clarification.
Thank you, yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In his remarks, Councillor Johnson suggested that the Conservative group hadn't engaged with this process. As a point of clarification, I would make clear that we submitted a very detailed response to the consultation, which can be found in the published documents.
Councillor Carroll, that wasn't a point of order. Sorry, but we heard. Councillor Cave, is this a point of order?
It is a point of order, Madam Mayor. I just feel that tonight our very dedicated community councillors have had a slur.
No, sorry, Councillor.
By
Councillor, I've been advised it's not a point of order. Sorry.
Themselves.
It's not a point of order, sorry. Councillor Godfrey, point of order?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It was just with regards to a comment that Councillor Perry made about Wenvo not losing St Nicholas and Dufferin. What I said was the ward of Wenvo.
Sorry, Councillor. I'm going to ask our monitoring officer to come on because I think we're getting a little bit mixed up with our points of order.
No, well, the point of order I just wanted to make was that I was talking
I've been advised it wasn't.
The ward.
Can I ask the monitoring officer to come on, please? Thank you, Debbie. Sorry, we couldn't get Debbie on today, but no, she's not here. So, sorry, we'll discuss it at another time. Leader, please. Oh, better late than never. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, it was I didn't press that button at the middle of the screen. So for clarification rather than a point of order, I think members are referring to a personal explanation under the Constitution. So just to read from the Constitution for clarity, member may make a personal explanation at any time. Personal explanation may relate to some material part of an earlier speech by the member, which may appear to have been misunderstood in the present debate. Ruling the chair on admissibility is relevant. So I think there's a bit of confusion here that the point has been raised by, in one instance, by Councillor Johnson, not a point by Councillor Carroll. So it is a matter of opinion which has been expressed. So not a point of order, and because the point has been raised by another member, not strictly a point of personal explanation. So hopefully that assists.
Thank you for that explanation, Monitoring Officer. Would the leader like to come back in, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, briefly. Just a few comments on here. At the outset, I went through in some detail, I can go on in more detail if you'd like now, about the very extensive discussions in various fora that this process went through, that there was a cross-party working group, and I pay tribute to them. They worked very diligently to come up with some initial proposals, and I am aware that people who are speaking out against it this evening were invited to participate. May have put a submission in, but actually in terms of developing the proposals from a cross-party group in which the executive played no part, it was a hard-working group who took their task very seriously. And that formed the basis of our submissions. Also, as I said at the beginning of this item, this is already out of our hands. And so if you would like to write down any of the comments you've made tonight and send them to the Minister, I'm very sure that she will be pleased to receive them and to consider them. But they are not for this chamber this evening. What is before us are the three recommendations, and I would confirm that I move them. Thank you, Mayor.
I have a seconder, please.
And I'll second those. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I'll just ask the Chief Executive to prepare the vote. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So if members will indicate how they're going to vote, if you are for the recommendations and you're in the chamber, if you use the plus button. If you're against, if you use the minus button. If you want to abstain, you can use the centre button. And it's for or against if you're online, I believe, Matt, yes? Yeah. So when you're ready, you can all vote. Okay, we have the results. 38 in favour, 13 against, 1 abstention, and 1 not voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. That report is approved and noted. Moving on to agenda item 7, the report of the Chief Executive's emergency powers. Can I ask the leader to present, please? Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wait for it to come up. Yes, there we are. Very straightforward housekeeping report here. It's in relation to the exercising of emergency powers by the Chief Executive since the last report, which was on the 6th of March 2024. And if you look at paragraph 2.1a, it's in relation to an amendment to the Constitution allowing officers flexibility in terms of payment of the appropriate timescale for independent members, and that also includes chair of standards and audit committees, ordinary members of standards committees, education scrutiny committee, and audit. So very straightforward. I would therefore move that we note.
Councillor Brooks.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Note.
I see no dissent in the room. Anybody online? No, thank you. That matters for noting. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8, the proposal to grant free men and free women status to the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. Leader, could you present, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a reference from Cabinet on the 11th of April, recommending to full council to consider granting members of the RNLI in the Vale of Glamorgan the title of Honorary Free Men and Honorary Free Women in recognition of their distinguished service to residents and visitors of the Vale of Glamorgan in this, the RNLI's 200th anniversary year, with a freedom ceremony to be held at the Festival of the Sea in June of this year at Barry Island. I mentioned the intention for the proposal previously at full council, and I think it's fair to say that the Royal National Lifeboat Institute in the Vale of Glamorgan has provided exceptional service to their communities. Apart from their traditional services, the RNLI has always looked for other ways to support their communities, whether that be the lifeguards who keep people safe at our resorts, or even providing mental health support to their community. And for those who visited Penarth Esplanade will see the Friendship Bench there, located in easy sight of the lifeboat station, so that they are able to keep a watch on people that need their support. Penarth Lifeboat Station was originally opened in 1861 before being closed in 1905, but then it reopened in 1980 in its new building on the Esplanade. Barry Docks Lifeboat Station was established in 1901 and has operated from the docks in Barry ever since. And interestingly, Atlantic College Lifeboat Station opened in 1963 and operated until the lifeboat was withdrawn in 2013, although in the mid-2010s, a programme of small rigid-hulled inflatable boat, powerboat building and operator training was introduced for students. And it was interesting when I mentioned that at Cabinet, I had 2 emails within a minute, both sending me links to the information, because I said, I understand. And so people felt so passionately about it, they emailed me immediately on that. So this vote requires a 2/3 majority. I would certainly hope that it is unanimous from this council tonight. But on the basis of requiring a 2/3 majority, I would call for a recommended vote this evening, and I'm delighted to move the recommendation. Sorry, did I say recorded?
Yeah, yes. Recorded.
Recorded. Councillor Brooks?
A recorded vote, yes. I'm getting too emotional.
Second.
Yes.
Councillor Brooks to second, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely delighted to second.
Who's next? Councillor Hodges.
Thank you. I was actually putting my hand up there to go for the recorded vote, but I did intend to speak, so it's great. It's the 200th anniversary, as has been said. I don't want to speak about Penarth, although they're important, but I certainly want to say something about Barry, because that's my neck of the woods. Quite right, opened in 1901, going strong in their new headquarters with their new boat. Actually, and strangely enough, it was decided in 1893, some 8 years earlier, that Barry was deserving of a lifeboat. And that was decided at the Roath Road Methodist Church in Cardiff. And if you don't know where Roath Road is, it's better known nowadays as Newport Road. And that demolished church is under what became Eastgate House on the corner there of City Road. And it had a big important history, because some of the biggest supporters in those days were the Methodists. And the links between the Methodists of not only the lifeboat in Barry Dock and other lifeboats, but also the Barry Yacht Club is quite fascinating. And of course, the Yacht Club is coming up to its centenary in 3 years' time. I mention this because their fascinating history, and I've been delighted to have been invited by the Barry ILNI to actually do a history talk this year for them as part of their general fundraising and celebrations. So I am absolutely delighted to be involved with the RNLI. The history is unparalleled. It's incredible how some of the best services within the British state are not paid for by government, but by supporters and by charity. But they are well supported, and rightly so, even though certain politicians in their time don't like them saving people from drowning. But so I'm more than happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hodges. Councillor Anthony Ernest, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it's very traditional with a motion such as this for it to receive unanimous support from members of the council, and I certainly will be supporting the motion this evening. I would just like to correct one thing. The Penarth Lifeboat Station actually opened in the deck chair stall in the middle of the Esplanade, not in its spanking new headquarters, which came quite a number of years later. But I was one of those involved in bringing the lifeboat service back to Penarth back in 1979, 1980. We got a good team together, and there's a good team to this very day, as indeed there is at every other station. So I'm very pleased to support this, particularly in respect of Penarth, whilst at the same time recognising the other stations along the Vale of Glamorgan coastline. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ernest. Councillor Joanna Prothero, please.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I would also like to give my debt of gratitude to the RNLI and support this proposal. My ward of St Bride's, on the other side of the Vale of Glamorgan, has two very, very popular beaches that has been supported for the last couple of decades by RNLI. Ogmore by Sea and Southern Down. As you know, we keep them very, very busy during those summer months with our very dangerous currents and the riptide from the Ogmore River. And literally without them, there would have been many, many deaths. So long may they continue, and thank you ever so much for your hard work. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Prothero. Councillor Carroll, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The Conservative Group will be supporting the motion before us this evening. It's about celebrating and recognising the vital work that local RNLI members do to protect people and save lives. And I think that emphasis on local RNLI members, those working here in the Vale of Glamorgan from communities like Penarth and Barry and St Bride's, as other speakers have referred to this evening, is incredibly important. They are true heroes, and we should show our gratitude. In my view, granting them free men and free women status is a fitting tribute to them. It's an excellent way of showing how much we appreciate the work that they do. For my part, I've been privileged enough to have met many RNLI members in the Vale over the course of my time as a councillor. It's been extremely beneficial to hear of their work, and I, like everyone, am extremely grateful. As the leader said in her remarks, we need a 2/3 majority to ensure that this motion is passed this evening. I very much hope that that happens, and I'm more than happy to lend it my support.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. If there's no more, Councillor Johnson.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you to the leader for bringing this proposal before us this evening. Hopefully, like every other speaker, this will be a unanimous one. Last week, wearing another hat, I was attending a recognition ceremony in Llandaff Cathedral for the RNLI. Of course, as coast communities, RNLI plays a very important role for and before a number of our communities existed, 200 years for any movement, but especially a movement which is, to all intents and purposes, managed by volunteers, is extremely important. And we can look to the vision from Vision Hillary for the RNLI to see how important this is for a coast area like Vale of Glamorgan. Of course, in Barry, we heard that the first station was opened in 1901, and there's a model of the first lifeboat in the town hall and in the King Square. Of course, the first man, Copson, who had been buried in Barry Cemetery, like a number of residents of the town, and like a number of volunteers who worked on the lifeboat. We all, I'm sure, can take a lot of pride in the group running the lifeboats and putting themselves in harm's way and in risk for people they don't know. And so I express my gratitude to them, and of course my support for the proposal. And I'm looking forward to the Sea Festival in June, which is an opportunity for us in Barry and across Vale of Glamorgan to celebrate the successes for RNLI, to raise money and to raise awareness of them. Thank you, and best of luck to them.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor John.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure that many did the same as I did when I was a kiddie, and that was selling the lifeboats. We used to do this annually, selling the flags, and this was run by the local Wesleyan Chapel group. And throughout the 50s, I was seen in Lantern Major selling these flags regularly. And yes, I'm fully supportive, 110% of the lifeboat. I mean, they've done a fantastic job throughout the years, and they still continue to do a fantastic job. And the saddest thing of all, you know, is that they're so short of cash these days, and they need support big time. So I'm fully behind them, and I hope I'm sure everyone here tonight will be the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor John. If nobody else wants to speak, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive to set up a recorded vote. Thank you.
Okay, so a recorded vote has been called for and accepted. So if members, if they are for the recommendation, if you use the plus sign, against, minus, abstain, 0 in the middle, And once the results are in, we'll display them on screen, as is practice with a recorded vote. So when you're ready, thank you. Display the results on the screen.
Unanimous.
So that's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to give my congratulations.
Thank you all.
Agenda item 9 next is the nomination of Mayor-elect and Deputy Mayor-elect for the municipal year 2024-25. Councillor Burnett, would you like to say something, please?
Could I ask for nominations for Mayor-elect, please?
Councillor Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It gives me huge pleasure to nominate my fellow St Augustine Ward Councillor Elliot Penn to be Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan for the coming municipal year 2024-25. Elliot was a newly elected councillor to the Vale of Glamorgan Council in the 2022 election. Since then, he has demonstrated immense abilities in both quickly learning and understanding the complexities of his role. We know that he is an asset to the scrutiny committees for which he has been a member, in that he fully tackles and understands the often complex reports and demonstrates this by asking incisive and relevant questions that enhance the scrutiny process. He has built on his previous community experience as a highly effective town and community councillor, and in his role as the main driver, if you'll excuse the pun, of the tremendously popular Penarth Downhill Derby, which has consistently attracted many thousands of spectators over many years. His abilities as an effective, involved and popular ward councillor are palpable, and his role as deputy mayor, he has notably provided strong support for our now outgoing mayor and proved himself as an ambassador for the Vale of Glamorgan. And I have no doubt he will continue to demonstrate his skills as chair of this council. I have no hesitation in commending Elliot for the role as mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan, safe in the knowledge that he will continue to exemplify all that we are so rightly proud of in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more nominations for... Oh, sorry, seconder, please. Councillor Buckley. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Buckley. Any other nominations, please, for Mayor? Councillor Carroll.
Nominate Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Russell Godfrey. If we go to seconder, please. Councillor Charles.
I second Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Thank you. Any other nominations there, please? No, I see none. So we will go to the vote then, please.
Okay, so... Oh, excuse me. So what I propose to do here is, because there's two individuals, if you can remind me who was, it was Councillor Godfrey?
Councillor Godfrey.
So if members want to vote for Councillor Penn, if they use the plus, Councillor Godfrey minus, and that's no, what's the phrase? That's no preference from me. I have to say that, and 0 if you want to abstain. And for those at home, if you press 4 for Councillor Penn and against for Councillor Godfrey, and then we'll have totals. Does that make sense? Councillor Johnson, is that point of order? It's not been asked for, no. You can ask for one? Yeah.
Recorded vote.
Councillor Marnie, point of order, or?
I'm not sure what it is. That just my normal sense, to be honest with you, on the point of order. I'd like to vote against both. Nothing against the individuals involved. I voted every year.
Then I'd suggest.
But it's not abstain, is it? That's not an abstention. It's a voting against both. And I say nothing against the individuals involved. I voted against every single year. I don't agree with the mayor and the payment, the excessive payment that's given to the mayors.
Okay. Probably
so
best
how would I
in-
vote against both? That's my point. It's not abstain. No, it's not an abstention. No, it's not.
It's a fair point. And what we could do, if you're happy, Mayor, is we could take one vote at each time, if that will help. So shall I say, first of all, then, first vote is for Elliot Penn as Mayor-elect. Simple for or against, and we'll have some totals and an abstention. And then we'll take another vote for or against Councillor Godfrey. So first vote is for Elliot Penn, for or against.
If I may, Mayor, I've had my hand up for some time.
I have
Mayor.
noticed. I've just noticed now. Sorry. Councillor Stephen Haynes.
Is it a point of order?
It's a point of clarity. No, it's a point of clarity. On the remote system, it's yes and no.
I explained that earlier, Councillor Haynes.
Yeah, so it's not for and against. So when you were...
Yes, as I said, I explained that earlier. I'll explain it again for your benefit. So...
Councillor Perry as well next, please.
Is that a point of order?
Yeah, what would happen if there were 3 candidates or 4 candidates? Because you can go
separately.
yes or no.
Councillor Perry, firstly, there isn't. And secondly, if there was, I would have come up with a different system for you. But there isn't, so it's an academic question, I guess.
Yeah, I think we need to review the system. Just having yes or no isn't appropriate in all occasions. I think we need to review this system for that. Thank you.
Losing my patience here now. No, there's no need. I propose we just move to the vote because there are only 2 names put forward and the voting mechanism that we have is quite adequate for 2 names. Yeah. So vote number 1 is for Elliot Penn as Mayor-elect. Either a simple for or against if you're at home, plus or minus if you're in the council chamber, with the 0 in the middle if you wish to abstain.
Yes or no if you're at home.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so the votes for Councillor Penn as Mayor-elect, 39 in favour, 14 against. But now I propose we'll get the vote for Councillor Godfrey. Same principle if you are for Councillor Godfrey as the Mayor-elect. For plus or minus if you're in the chamber, 0 for abstention, and yes or no if you're at home. So for or against Councillor Godfrey as Mayor-elect. The result is 13 for and 40 against, so Councillor Elliot Penn is Mayor-elect.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I take some nominations for the Deputy Mayor, please?
Yeah.
Nominations for Deputy Mayor, please? Oh, they're still looking at it. Thank you, Margaret. Councillor Naomi Marshall-Sea. And can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Sue Lloyd-Selby. They're fighting for you, Naomi. Any other nominations, please? Councillor Carroll.
Councillor Russell Godfrey.
And the seconder, please? Janice Charles, thank you.
I second, thank you.
Thank you. So I will, if there's no more nominations, we go for the same system again, if that's all right.
Okay, so same system then. Those in favour of Councillor Marshalsea as Deputy Mayor-elect, plus on your touchpads in the chamber, minus if you're against, 0 if you're abstaining. If you're at home, yes or no. So if you'd like to cast your votes, please. Okay, 39 in favour, 13 against. So now same for Councillor Godfrey, please. If you're for Councillor Godfrey, plus against minus 0 abstention, or if you're at home, yes or no. So this is for Councillor Godfrey as Deputy Mayor-elect. Thank you. Okay, so the result is 13 for, 40 against. So Councillor Marshalsea is the Deputy Mayor-elect.
Thank you for all your nominations. Agenda item 10, urgent decision procedure A to D. Could I ask the leader to present, please? Sorry, Councillor Godfrey.
2 votes now, there's been 39 and 30, and then 40 and there's no abstentions.
It's because on one of the votes, somebody didn't vote at all. They didn't cast a vote.
39-13 and 40-13.
So on the first on the first vote, one person didn't vote. But they didn't vote. You have to vote for an abstention. They just did not vote.
Councillor Williams, what did you want to make a comment quickly?
Yeah, just to let Councillor Godfrey, it was me that didn't vote, and that was only my error, just for awareness. So that's the reason for it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will move on to the urgent procedure, decision procedure A to D, and I'll ask Councillor Burnett to present, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another standard report before us. It's to inform Council of the use of the urgent decision procedure, and there are 4 items there. They all relate to bringing items to Council, and so I would move that we note.
Thank you. And the seconder?
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. I see no hands up and no dissent, so the use of the urgent decision procedure is noted. Agenda item 11. Moving on to members' questions. Question 1 from Councillor Stephen Haynes to the Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and the Welsh Language. Councillor Rhiannon Birch, please. Councillor Birch, I think you're on mute. Councillor Birch, shall I come back to... Can I move on to... oh, here they are. Have you pressed your... Right.
Councillor Birch, did you plug your headphones in after you started the meeting? You didn't have them on earlier. If you did, you'll have to go back out and reconnect, and then we'll move on, and then the Mayor will call you back in. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Question number 2, from Councillor Franks to Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services, Councillor Mark Wilson, please, regarding claims received due to potholes and other highway defects.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I also thank Councillor Franks for his question? And here is my answer. Firstly, the number of insurance claims received in respect of damages to vehicles and personal injury due to carriageway defects over the past 3 years is as follows. In 21-22, 87, 22 to 23, 104, 23 to 24, 148. The total number of claims received for the 3 years is 339. Secondly, for footways, the number of claims notified to the insurance team for the same period is as follows. 21-22, 22, 22-23, 19, 23-24, 12. The total number of claims received for the 3 years is 53.
Supplementary, Councillor Franks.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you for that very interesting information, Councillor. Quite a growth, isn't it? How do you intend to respond to the significant level of public concern regarding the dangerous state of so many roads across the Vale? The last public survey of residents' views and concerns regarding the performance of the Vale made for depressing reading. I must say, many consider that this is a failing council.
Okay. I'm not really sure of your question there, but nevertheless, you know, we do have financial challenges. What I would urge you and all the other councils is to report things as soon as you think there is a valid pothole. You can report it on the website, on the Report It feature, and I welcome you and other members to do so.
Thank you, councillors. I'll wait. Councillor Birch, would you be ready? Are you ready to take your first question, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for the question.
The
Vale of Glamorgan Council has a long history of welcoming children of UK service personnel to our schools, and currently there are 342 children of service families in schools in the Vale of Glamorgan. It is recognised that Swallows plays a part in this highly effective relationship. However, only a very small number receive funded early education places at Swallow. A number of teams across the council work closely with our schools and external partners to support our service families, as outlined in the MOD Local Authority Partnership, Vale of Glamorgan Supporting Service Children Action Plan. This recently completed action plan clearly demonstrates how all 26 actions have been successfully embedded to ensure we continue to meet the needs of service children and their families. The Council's Learning Links and Admissions team work effectively with our schools to facilitate admission without delay and also provide support and challenge for schools to address the educational needs of learners from service families so they are able to access an appropriate education and achieve the best possible education outcomes.
Supplementary, please. No?
Yes, just strange. It is a bit strange. The question was clear, and I did think it requires an answer. It did say how much you were going to save with the cuts. And I find it shocking that you can cut services without knowing how much you're going to save. Perhaps you could write to me in the future and tell me that. But moving on to my supplementary, and I agree you do a lot for the service families, and I agree priorities are important, and etc. All that being said, you know, how much does this council pay to groups to tell us what to think? For example, Stonewall.
I can't answer that question because I've had no notice of it. It's not related to the question you just asked me. But if you want to put that into an email, then I will attempt to get figures for you.
With all due respect, it's about finances.
Councillor, it's not related to the. It's not supplementary. Sorry. I don't know.
If you put it into an email, I will attempt to get some figures for you. But I can't answer it now.
I will email
Thank you. Thank you.
When I email you, you reply to the
question. Moving on to question number 3 from Councillor R. Thomas. Do the Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and the Welsh Language, Councillor Birch again, please.
Thank you. I attended a meeting of ADU, which is the Association of Welsh Directors of Education Wales, last week, where I and other Cabinet Members for Education and Directors of Education from across Wales met with the new Cabinet Secretary and was able to hear firsthand her vision for education in Wales. But actually, what she really said was, I've been in the post for 4 weeks, so what I'm here to do is to listen to your concerns. So that was quite interesting because she was, obviously met with an awful lot of information. People had prepared speeches beforehand. People had sent her long emails so that she would be aware of the concerns of councils around Wales.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor Birch for that answer. As you'll know, school children in the Vale of Glamorgan receive £728 per pupil less than the Welsh average, which is crippling schools and damaging the future of children and young people in our county. With the new Welsh Government in place, I think it might be time for a reassessment of the funding formula and how the Vale Council works to fund our schools. I've written to the new Cabinet Secretary, Lynn Neagle, outlining that argument.
Thomas, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah. In your conversations with the Minister, will you be asking for a fundamental reassessment and change of the funding formula so children in the Vale get the money they deserve? Thank you very much.
I can say that every Cabinet Member that was there raised the question of funding for the future of education in a very robust way.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Question number 4 from Councillor Cowp to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services, Councillor Mark Wilson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cowp, for your question. There are several measures aimed at limiting the impact of rubbish and litter in windy conditions. This firstly starts with the design of collection receptacles such as sealed containers for food waste, which separates this type of waste, which is attracted to gulls, vermin from black bags. The service also allows the use of dustbins and nappy caddies to further limit the impact of waste or loose material. Additionally, recycling bags are designed with weights sewn into the bottom of bags to prevent them blowing away, and all bags have lids and a Velcro retainer to prevent material escaping. As well as the measures for collection, street litter bins have been designed with lids and narrow apertures to limit waste escaping and to restrict gulls and vermin from entering them. I would also point out that our controls do rely on the assistance of our residents and ensuring that all waste and recycling part of collection is properly contained and there is no food left in black bags. And that's my answer.
Supplementary, please.
Thank you. I think you've explained to me the system that you've got in place, which normally is acceptable, but in windy weather, rubbish is strewn all over the place. I've just driven round the Vale today and there's rubbish all. What I'm saying is,
do you have your question?
What are you going?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
What are you doing?
No, sorry. I was asking if you had a question, but we talked over each other. Sorry. Could you go ahead, please, Councillor Cowp? Councillor, sorry, we were talking over each other, so do you want to have another go, please? A short question.
My question is particularly related to when the weather is windy, not about normal collections.
Okay. I mean, I think the vast majority of the Vale Glamorgan residents use their common sense, as I would under windy conditions. If you know it's excessively windy and you think there's a risk, then you manage your waste effectively and properly. So really, if there is one particular resident or an issue that we can help them out, we have got a team of people that can do that in the Vale. And I'm more than happy to receive an email with one particular circumstances or number of circumstances. But obviously, we all do risk assessments every day of our lives. If you know it's very windy, you will take your actions accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Question 5, work to improve drainage and road quality in Penarth, from Councillor Rhys Thomas to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services, Mark Wilson.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Rhys Thomas, for your question. And the Council's Highway Maintenance Team inspect each road in the Vale Glamorgan to identify any specific safety defects or hazards which meet relevant intervention levels on a defined schedule between 1 to 6 months, depending on its category and traffic volume. A detailed report on this matter was presented and agreed by Cabinet on 8th of February 2024, and I know it went to scrutiny as well. If Councillor Thomas has any specific issue in mind, then I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with him as a local member. He doesn't have to wait until a council meeting to raise an issue with me.
Supplementary?
Yep, thank you, Chair. And just in the last week, I've been talking to residents in a particular area, so I'll take you up on that offer. Across Park Road, Bridgman Road and Marine Parade, who've got issues with uneven payments and poor or non-existent drainage. Now, poor drainage, poor road and pavement quality has an outsized impact on disabled people and the elderly in that area.
Can I just ask if there's a question, please?
Yeah, I've got a resident who can't leave their home when it floods in the area because they're in a wheelchair. It's a very serious issue. So I'd like to take up the Cabinet Member on his offer to visit the area at a time we can arrange.
I'm more than happy. And as you know, we recently resurfaced Marine Parade. And I would like to obviously acknowledge that, Rhys Thomas, that would be nice. But also, if you could send me an email with the full details, I'd be much appreciated.
I will. It's Park Road as well. So there's a few issues, but thank you for that, Mark. Cheers.
Councillor Johnson's question to the Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and the Welsh Language is concerning promotion of the arts in the Vale. Councillor Rhiannon Birch, please.
Thank you for the question. The Council has an active liaison with the Arts Council of Wales and their development officers, who are the principal contact points for each local authority area and meet with the Council's arts services as required. The Council has recently been allocated a new development officer with an introductory meeting forthcoming. The Council's Arts and Culture Service has supported a number of applications for schools, organisations and artists in the Vale, which have all been successful in receiving Arts Council Wales Create project funding. In the past 2 years, for example, the Arts Council of Wales have supported a total of 95 organisations, individuals and schools to the sum of £781,525 in the Vale of Glamorgan, including 3 arts organisations, 13 individual artists and 21 schools in 22-23, and 6 organisations, 17 individual artists and 22 schools in 23-24. And I can give you a full list of funding allocations and recipients if you wanted.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Is there a supplementary? Councillor Johnson, yeah.
Thank you for the question. As with previous responses, this is asking about the multi-year investment review and not normal Arts Council of Wales allocations. The Vale of Glamorgan was one of only 2 counties in Wales in which no organisation received funding as a result of the Arts Council of Wales last year, and I'm aware the Chief Executive, David Rees, wrote to local authorities to ask them to arrange meetings to discuss how they could better support arts development with particular reference to that investment review. Could you just clarify that you haven't met with the Arts Council of Wales yourself to discuss this issue? Thank you.
No, personally, I have not met with them, but I'm happy to follow up your inquiry. So I will be in touch with you with an answer.
Thank you, councillors. Question 7, let's talk about life in the Vale survey concerns, from Councillor George Carroll to the leader, please. Leader.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Carroll. I admit to being a bit surprised at this question, as Councillor Carroll should know the answer from a report that was discussed at Cabinet on the 11th of April this year. That's only some 18 days ago, but before you would have submitted this question. That report is being referred to a range of committees and other fora for discussion and further consideration, including corporate performance and resources scrutiny, of which you're a member. And so I would imagine you would be able to discuss it further at that point. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. An overwhelming majority of respondents said that they don't believe the council takes residents' views into account when making decisions. Does the leader agree?
I don't, and I hope that over the coming months and year that residents will see even more that we do take their views into account. It is difficult when there is a binary yes or no, or we can do it, we can't do it type of answer. It's also very difficult when there are populist agendas that are trying to peddle mistruths and disinformation. But we will continue to try and work with our residents and to ensure that we do take their views into account.
Thank you, councillors. Question 8, reimbursement of Kingston Crescent fly tipping fines, from Councillor A.M. Collins to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services. Councillor Mark Wilson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Collins, for your question, and here's my answer. In October 2023, Naworth Housing Association asked to meet with me and the Council's enforcement manager to see what we could do to assist with fly tipping at their domestic bin stores and on the public highway at Thompson Street, Barry. Since this date, the Council enforcement officers have been working in partnership with Naworth Housing Association to try and eliminate the fly tipping problems being experienced. Unfortunately, fixed penalty notices had to be issued by the Council in consultation with Naworth Housing Association for fly tipping on the highway and outside the bin stores. 17 fixed penalty notices have been issued since October for fly tipping offences. 12 of those fixed penalty notices are for fly tipping on the public highway and will not be rescinded. The remaining 5 fixed penalty notices relate to placing waste in a bin store within Naworth's Thompson Street development without the authority to do so. The Council's officers are currently in discussions with Naworth regarding these fines, as well as the possible introduction of further measures to prevent fly tipping. Once the discussions with Naworth are concluded, a decision will be taken as to whether to progress with the 5 bin stores fines as issued, and this position will be communicated to those involved, and that's my answer.
Supplementary, Councillor Collins.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for that. I'd like to point your attention to the letter that I emailed you. It is addressed to a resident on Thompson Street Estate who has asked me to forward it as part of the request. He was fined for putting 1 black bag in the bin store, and
Councillor
he was fined
Collins,
because
can you just ask the question,
he did
please?
not have the right to use it. Now, we've seen evidence of that, and I would like
Councillor, just one question, please.
Is this. I would like you to please consider the reasoning for the fines and to please contact this customer, this guy, as soon as possible. If you would do that, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. I will obviously take advice with my officers and then come back. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Question 9, engagement with the new First Minister of Wales, from Councillor George Carroll to the Executive Leader. Could you reply there, Leader, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Carroll. There have been a number of engagements, both formal and informal, with the First Minister and his Cabinet, in fact, including a successful official visit to the Vale. Many more such visits for the First Minister and his Cabinet colleagues are planned over the coming days and weeks.
Supplementary.
What information has the new First Minister or his administration provided to the Council regarding the resources that it will make available to facilitate the review of Labour and Plaid's 20-mile-an-hour speed limit policy?
I really don't see the relevance because there is a Cabinet Secretary that's responsible for the 20-mile-an-hour review. But I will say that actually local government or local authority leaders have already met with the Cabinet Secretary and had details of the three-stage process that they will be bringing in. We await formal guidance and then we will continue. Personally, I think that this is what was already promised. It was already promised to have a review of the 20-mile-an-hour default speed limit, and that is actually what's happening. There is no big issue here, and we'll carry on until we wait for the guidance, as was always expected. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Question 10, Oracle Fusion, lessons to be learned. From Councillor George Carroll to the leader, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Carroll. Yet again, I would hope that Councillor Carroll will recall this issue being discussed at a single item meeting of the Council's Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee on Wednesday, the 17th of April, where there was the best part of 3 hours discussion on the paper. I was present, as was Councillor Carroll, sitting just behind him. Both Councillor Carroll and I, as I said, were in attendance, and the committee also recommended referring the report to Governance and Audit Committee, and this will take place in the coming weeks. The views of these committees will then come to Cabinet alongside the action plan to ensure the lessons are addressed appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary.
The rollout of this project cost £5.2 million, running roughly 3.5 times over budget. Will the leader apologise for Labour's mismanagement of the council's budgets, which has resulted in residents facing years of inflation-busting council tax rises?
I think it's worth revisiting a recent comment I made, which was this council has had to cut 67.5 million as a result of austerity by your party, Councillor Carroll.
Absolutely.
At the moment, there is still a process ongoing to review the lessons learned. It's a comprehensive report. That's why it took 3 hours to discuss. It will go to Governance and Audit, and then we will discuss further. I don't know what you're expecting me to say at the mid-stage of this review.
Thank you, councillors. The last question of the evening. Question 11, GP's capacity in the Vale of Glamorgan, from Councillor George Carroll to the Cabinet Member for Community Engagement, Equalities and Regulatory Services. Councillor Savinyanan, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. The planning team meet regularly with Cardiff and the Vale University Health Board to discuss the replacement local development plan and the implications of this on general medical services and provision across the Vale. As part of the recent RLDP preferred strategy consultation, the representation from UHB confirmed that it is, and I'm quoting here, undertaking an assessment of capacity across its services and will work with the local authority to address the impact of the preferred housing growth option in the plan. The replacement LDP has also been presented at a strategic level to the Public Services Board so that all partners are aware of the importance of ensuring the need for proper forward planning when it comes to health provision, not just for the current population, but also for the future residents as communities develop over time.
Supplementary, Councillor Carroll.
Thank the Cabinet Member for her answer. The key sites in Dinas Powys included in the RDLP draft strategy will undoubtedly place huge pressures on public services in Penarth, Dinas Powys and Llandoch. Will the Council listen to residents' concerns and remove these sites from the plan?
I think that's not a related matter to this question, and I've answered that question. If you want to put that question to me in writing, you can. But currently, as I've said, we're working with the Health Board, so we don't foresee the issues that you seem to want to create here happening, because we will be working with the Health Board. And once they... What I can say also is once they have undertaken their assessment, their capacity assessment, the Health Board, we will work with them to produce a paper looking at these specific issues in the Vale.
Thank you for all the questions and answers, councillors. Before I end the meeting, I would just like to say some of us need to brush up on our points of order, if in fact they are points of order. And also, can we be a bit stricter on our asking the supplementaries, please, because it does hold back the business. And I'm sure there's plenty of time to comment outside this chamber. Thank you very much. So I have no meeting urgent items under part 1 and none under part 2. I've just given you your homework, though, so thank you for that. And I declare the meeting closed. So good night, and good night to the gallery as well.